Today's episode is sponsored by Podbean. Have you been listening to us and thought to yourself, if these two idiots can start a podcast, I'm sure I could? Well, Podbean has got you covered. Go to podbean.com/catalyst and get your first month free. Choose the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. Choose Podbean. Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 36. It's Thursday, so we've got Jim F0123 Art on with us, and yeah, let's get into it. How you doing, Jim?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Made it here.
Yeah, a little snowy and a little icy, but
bit of a blizzard.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
To live up north, huh?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's cold.
It's cold.
Ugh, I'm telling you.
Wet, rainy.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's gross out there.
Awful.
Terrible.
So, I had to replace my sink.
Oh, really?
Not my sink, the faucet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's a project that no one wants.
Plumbing is just the worst.
Yeah,
Shout out to the plumbers, because oh my God. Whoa.
Yeah, who wants to do that job except them?
So we got our first sponsor.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting.
Podbean, they're listening. They think we have something important to say, and they'd be right.
Coming through with the affiliate link. So, if you guys do want to check it out, check it out.
Absolutely.
So, what have you been up to? Because we're getting into the year now.
Yeah. No, we are getting into the new year.
Right. The Christmas vacation is over.
It's over. So it's, trying to get back to making sure we're watching or paying attention to what's going on with pop culture. And finally got a chance, after the Christmas movies and the seasonal movies are over, get back into more traditional movie watching. So I watched a little movie called Pinocchio. Not the heartless, soulless piece of shit Disney Tom Hanks movie.
Oh, okay.
The very high art Guillermo del Toro version.
I've stayed away from it.
Yeah,
I can't, because it just makes me feel I would. This is going to be pretentious, but I would call myself a bit of an artist.
Sure.
And just looking at the craft that goes into making that just makes me feel like a child with crayons.
Right. Exactly. And that's the way you should feel by watching this, because
it's stop motion is the most evil form of it's so labor intensive.
Yeah. It's really a delight on the eyes.
I bet.
For sure. Now, it is a musical, which I did not realize going into this. I had no idea. Okay, so again,
how's the music?
Yeah,
just it's mediocre.
It's more. It's not as childish as you would think. Although there's childish elements, the music is pretty intense for the most part. I'm going to say everything in this movie is pretty intense.
Well, look at who directed it.
Right. And so,
he's not known for his lackadaisical style.
And the thing is, when you're watching this, there is depth of feel. Like, it really is a deep movie that, again, if you're comparing it to the Disney movie, it's not even the same movie.
So before you dive into your analysis here, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Is it for children? Like, could a child watch it?
Yes, they could, because it's silly enough.
Yeah.
And visually such a visual appeal.
Right.
And there's some comedy, right? So it does appeal to children, and the heavier elements would go over their head, right? So you can have a definite for children.
Okay, so it's not so heavy that you got to get the child out of the room type of thing.
But But the thing is, what it deals with is acceptance.
Yeah.
Grief. Death, life, love, right?
Life. It deals with life.
Life. All the aspects of life.
How does it do it? In a natural way?
Yeah. Again, there's some mystical parts, like in Pinocchio,
what I mean
as you know,
is it's not. It feels like part of the plot.
Oh yes,
right.
Yes, and Jiminy Cricket is named Sebastian, right?
Well, because Jiminy Cricket is that's a Disney thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So a little bit different name. So basically,
Is he still the conscience though and everything?
yeah,
Okay.
done by voiced by Ewan McGregor.
Oh, great.
Right. So
Does a good job.
Here's the thing, and I don't, and I didn't look into this, right? But I didn't look into who played who.
Yeah.
But at the end, when they rolled the credits,
Yeah.
this is packed with A-list stars.
Really?
Yeah, I had no idea the amount of stars. Like Ron Perlman's in it.
Gotta love
Tilda
him.
Swinton's in it.
Gotta love her.
Like I said, Ewan McGregor's in it. There is a lot more, and I know I'm missing some, but
No, but
there was
this
a
is
lot
there's
of big
some
name.
talent
Yeah,
in this
there's a
pool.
lot of talent lending their voice to this. But
Seasoned talent.
yes, and the thing is, like, you watch this movie, and when it ends, it's like you just went through a lot.
It's a film.
Yeah, it's a film, and you felt it, and you felt this film all the way through. And when it ended, you were like left there like a lump, like I'm done.
It was an emotional roller coaster.
Absolutely, it was.
See, but that's kind of what I crave now. That's kind of why I'm so harsh on, because to an extent, Marvel gave us that. I think, in Phase 3.
Yeah,
but I think that's why I'm so harsh on them, is because when I don't, and you either, we don't have a lot of time.
No.
So when I sell my time to sit down and watch a movie, you better take me somewhere.
Right. And this movie definitely is worth the watch.
Were you expecting it to be as deep as it was?
No.
So it hit you even harder.
So I didn't know. So it starts off where Geppetto has a son named Carlo.
Okay.
And his son, they're in the middle of war. They're in Italy, and they're in the middle of war.
Sure.
Right? And the son gets killed at the beginning of the movie.
Sure.
If I'm going to spoil this for everybody, but so like all of a sudden his 10-year-old kid is killed because of a bomb.
Yeah, so you actually have to face the horror of war, face the horror of loss, right? And it's not just kind of that aside that Disney does where it's like, why is this fucking guy so obsessed with having a kid?
Right.
And it's like, no, he had one.
Right. And so the grief is so unbearable that he makes himself a kid, right, to fill a void.
Right.
He turns to alcohol.
Sure. Oh, wow.
Because he just can't handle the loss,
the pain,
the grief,
and the grief, and the suffering is too much to bear.
So, Sebastian.
That's pretty dark.
Yeah. So Sebastian meets up with them. One of the fairies grants life to Pinocchio to help the poor man with his suffering.
Right. The plight is enough to have divine intervention.
Right.
Okay.
Now, what they and Sebastian's task is that he's going to get granted a wish of any of his choosing if he steers this boy to the right path. Because when Pinocchio becomes alive, he's a kid who doesn't know anything, right? So
he's a blank slate.
He's a blank slate. So he's all over the place.
Right.
And he's not.
There's no moral compass.
Right. And so because he's so, I want to touch everything. I want to do everything.
He just wants to do what feels good.
Right. He's the polar opposite of Geppetto's son, and Geppetto only wants him to be like his son.
Right.
And so the whole thing is, even though he became alive, he's rejecting him because he isn't what he wanted him to be.
Right. He had a picture in his head, and it could never be his son because his son is gone.
Right. So
that's pretty heavy, man.
So I mean, it is all dealing with, you're a replacement for my son, but you're not my son. Therefore, I'm not going to accept you unless you are my son. And Pinocchio's thing is, I'm not your son. I'm me.
Right.
How about accepting me for being me?
Sure.
And again, I'm not going to. I'll make it brief. I don't want to get into every single thing, so I'll leave some. But the thing about it is that Pinocchio wasn't a real boy. He became alive, but he wasn't a real boy. So anytime he died, he would come back to life.
Right.
Because he wasn't real.
Right. At
the end, he made a sacrifice where if I make you a real boy, so the
If
sister
you become
of
a
the
real
fairy,
boy, you will die.
right now you will die.
Right.
So if you want to save,
No respawn.
there's a reason to save his father,
Right.
but he had to make a choice. Either
Keep
give up your
immortality.
right. So he makes the sacrifice,
Right.
saves the father, saves Sebastian, saves a monkey friend that he gets when he joins the carnival.
Yep.
Right. He saves all of them,
Right.
but
He makes the right choice.
he makes the sacrifice, right?
Right.
And then Sebastian gets his wish granted, which is bring him back to life.
Right.
So now he comes back to life, but he's not a real boy. He's back to being immortal,
Oh, wow.
right? So now the problem is that he's got to now deal with the mortality of his friends.
Right.
Because now they're getting older,
Oh, it shows all this.
and they all end up dying one by one.
But he can't.
And he can't. And
That's
so
a
now he's
hellscape.
right. So he's now left on his own with all his support system
Right.
has now died.
Right.
And he's got to carry on.
And it's hard. Like, what do? You can't make friends because the same thing happens.
Right. So now it's like
That's a curse.
yeah, but he gained the love of his father before the father died. So he accepted him. You're right. You aren't Carlo. I love you for you.
Right.
And they lived the rest of their life together.
Well,
happily.
Where does he go? Does he just head off into the sunset?
Heads off into the sunset.
That is a dark ending.
Yeah. And I'm like, at the end of it, I'm like,
It's not designed to make you feel wholly good.
it's not you. If you left there feeling good, you didn't get the
Well,
message.
there's some good there,
No.
though.
There's good, but what I mean is, if you left that happy, like
No.
with a big smile on your face, and if you didn't leave there choking up and like,
Oh, yeah.
wow, then you miss the mark on what that movie was intended to mean.
That's challenging
Yeah.
for a child, even.
Right.
You know? Did you ever see the movie 9?
No.
So that was produced by Tim Burton.
Okay.
Okay. And basically the gist of it was post-apocalyptic, right? And you had these 9 like burlap sentient beings. They were tiny, right? And they had to go on this journey, right? And some of them got killed in this movie, right?
Yeah.
And the movie ends and they're dead. You know?
Yeah.
And I saw this with my brother when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And it was like a moment for him because
Sure.
he's like, you know, up until that point, most of the stuff he had been exposed to has the happy ending.
Right.
And they won, but they don't come back. You know, the people that are lost are lost.
Right.
So I think that was like a very, you know, I think those are good. I think that's a good thing to show.
Yeah.
You know, is that there are, because it's closer to life, right?
Yeah. I mean, so the ending is this. The ending is he's at the cemetery with the graves
Of all of them. Yeah.
and walks into the sunset.
Yeah.
Like, that is a heavy emotional ending to this
Sure.
movie. And
Yeah, but like that is brutal.
yeah.
Like the fairy is not a hero in this.
No, that's the whole thing. It wasn't meant to. It wasn't meant
He's
to be
cursed.
a fairy tale.
No, he's cursed. Though.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
Exactly.
I think it's a true fairy tale, like how the Brothers Grimm was.
Right.
you know?
Exactly. It's not a Disney fairy tale.
Right.
It's a true fairy tale where bad shit happens to these likable people.
That's the thing, though, is that all of these fairy tales before Disney got its claws into them had poignant life lessons.
Right.
When you tell people and children, I should say, for years that it all works out in the end, you're brainwashing them into thinking like, well, it'll all be fine.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, raising people that can deal with the hardship when it comes.
Yeah, and I mean this is you know, something that kids have to deal with. Like, yeah, your parents and your friends and your pets, they're gonna die. And
Everybody dies.
You're gonna have to, and you may have to carry on without them, and you have to figure out how to do that. You're never gonna get over it, and you're never going to stop feeling the pain.
Right.
But you do have to continue on and cherish the memories that you had while those people were alive, and do the best you can for the amount of time you have left on this earth. And that message was crystal clear, and
But
like
they
I
didn't
said,
beat it over your head.
no, and that's the whole thing is it was done in a way where it was done masterfully in high artistic way, and you should have taken it exactly as it was supposed to be laid before you.
Right. It's one of those films that imprints on you.
Right.
You know, like you may be 5, 10, 15 years down the line, it'll still pop into your head.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, this is a movie that I highly recommend watching.
What's the runtime? Do you know?
It's a little over 2 hours.
Okay, so not Avatar level.
It's bearable. And like I said, when you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah.
So you don't really pay attention.
Run.
Yeah. I mean, because it's gonna
right.
grab you and
Right.
not let you go.
Story's there, the visuals are there. Right. So, just to bring up Avatar real quick, coming up on $2 billion.
Yeah,
It's all international money, but
sure.
What bothers me is I'm a strong proponent of streaming. Mm-hmm. I'm not interested in going back to the theater.
Nor is anybody else.
Except Jim Cameron.
Yeah.
I'm calling him Jimmy
Jim.
again.
It's all that now. No more James.
No, I'm calling him Jim.
Yeah.
Because he's been a dick through this whole run.
Yep.
And again, from what I've heard, it is a masterclass in technology.
Sure.
And amateur storytelling.
Right.
Which is fine. Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you brought the tech.
But it did what it needed to do. It told a story that's relatable to everybody. It's a generic story, but it's a story that people want to hear right now. It's a family story. It's about a father protecting his kids and learning a better way, and that's a story that we need right now, as opposed to all this other woke bullshit that we're getting.
Right, totally agree. It's just the way he kind of went about it and everything.
He's a dick the way he acts. But
there's no need to be that way.
No.
And I don't agree with him. I think his movie, I think Top Gun, I think those are outliers.
Oh,
I
they
really
totally
do.
are.
And he's like, no, we're all ready to go back. And it's like, I'm not. I'm good.
The movie audience is down 50%.
Right.
And it's at in 2022 was historically bad for the box office.
Nobody wants to do that shit anymore.
No.
And someone that likes film like myself, you know, like I'm not going as a social event. I'm going to watch a fucking movie. I don't want to deal with the cell phones and all that bullshit.
Here's the thing, right? And here's why it's not why that and Maverick is the outlier and not going to change it, because that's 2 movies in an entire year that we can talk about.
Right.
If it was 2 woke pieces of shit like Bros and everything else was Avatar and Maverick, then yes, the movie theaters would be back, because people would go.
Right.
But you're giving them 1 or 2 movies a year to go to, and then the rest of it is shit that no one wants to see.
So I read something interesting recently, because we've been lamenting this, you know, because 2022 was not a great year for television or movies.
Terrible.
And I've said to you, I don't fucking understand why this keeps happening. And so I read an article that said basically the reason that this is happening is because everyone is craving so much content now.
Sure.
So what's happening is your writers that are seasoned and good are being pulled into so many different directions that they can't really bring the next generation in and, you know, kind of, you know, teach them.
Right.
So these amateur writers and directors and producers are trying to cut their teeth on franchises that we love.
Right.
And a lot of it becomes dumpster fire.
Right. And the other part of that, right, we had the Golden Globes the other day.
Yep.
Historic all-time low.
Yeah. No one cares about award shows.
No. But what people care less about is the people that are in those award shows. Hollywood has to understand that they have to get their heads out of their collective asses. No one cares about you people anymore.
No, they're sniffing their own farts.
You're irrelevant. Right. You're irrelevant, and the ratings for these shows show you how much people don't care about you people anymore.
No one cares about Golden Globes.
If you have a movie like Maverick or Avatar, they will go. They don't care about you. They don't give a shit about your message. They don't give a shit about what you care about. You people are irrelevant in Hollywood.
Well,
it's the movie itself that matters.
So what's interesting, though, is there are still... No actor is getting me to go see a film, right?
No actor is getting anybody to go see a film.
When an actor is in a film, usually I'd be like, oh, that's probably a good film then. Like,
sure.
There are a couple that I'm like, if they signed on to it, it's probably good. Adam Driver, for me, is one. I think he's great.
He's a good actor, but, I mean, he's not in a lot of good movies.
No. Well, but I mean, everything I've seen him in, I've liked. Aside,
but
like Star Wars aside.
Yeah, but
did you
he
see
is good.
Like Marriage Story? He was great in that.
But that's him being good.
Right.
And not overall story or movie being good all the time.
I'm not watching shit because he's in it.
No, exactly. And
now,
no one is.
What I did watch, I did watch a couple of things.
Okay.
So
all right, let's hear it.
I think if I had to classify HBO Max with a mental illness, it would be borderline personality disorder. Because you have great shit on there, and then you have fucking dumpster fire.
Yeah.
You have the House of the Dragon, solid, right? And I watched 1.5 because I couldn't get through the second episode. Velma.
Oh, that is just a disaster. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm a Scooby-Doo guy.
I love Scoob.
I've watched from the 70s to the early 2000s. I've seen
on Zombie Island.
I've seen every movie.
I love Scooby-Doo.
Right. So this to me is an absolute abomination.
So here's the thing. I have a few points.
Sure.
Right. It's the protagonist is hostile, and I'm so tired of that shit. Like, that's the thing is that why are you so angry?
Right.
Like everyone else around them is just trying to deal with their lives, and they're just fucking angry and mean to I'm so sick of that trope.
Right.
So that's part of it. She kind of feels like Velma. Kind of not.
Yeah.
The meta humor is too much. Like the whole fucking thing is just meta humor.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay.
That's not for anybody.
You know what it is? Is it works like sugar. You sprinkle it in here and there, and it's like fun.
Sure.
Like a elbow nod, right? But when you do it for the whole episode, it makes me as an audience member feel like you think I'm a moron.
Right.
Because you're just overtly explaining everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Norville. There's like hints of Shaggy there.
Yeah.
But there, like he's supposed, they're spoilers. He like confesses his love to her, right? And she friend zones him hard, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that's not funny. That sucks for him,
right?
Like that's the thing is that the humor is mean.
Yeah.
And so
well, when you came out to promote this, and your thing was, "This is not for you. Go fuck yourself. This is for me.
Right.
This is a self-insert character writing it for me. And if you don't like it, I don't give a fuck. Don't watch it." And it got so ratioed that HBO Max had to actually shut the comments off because the hatred was flowing so hard.
So for those of you who don't know, when something gets ratioed, basically on social media, usually YouTube, it's the ratio of thumbs up, because you can't see thumbs down anymore.
Yeah.
And comments.
Right.
So if you have lots and lots and lots of thumbs up, you're doing fine. If you have not a lot of thumbs up, but lots and lots and lots of comments, that's bad.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is people write in and they're like, this is shit. Because you can't thumbs down it anymore. So now you got to write a comment.
Yeah.
So it did. It got ratioed so bad they had to turn comments off. it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, the animation is fine.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's subpar, but it's fine. You know, they're trying to give her a backstory. Like, it's so hard to care about any of it. There's no Scooby-Doo, obviously.
Right, which is the dumbest thing.
Right, but it's just like, what it feels like is, why are you even using the Scooby-Doo franchise? Like,
but
you could have just made a fucking cartoon.
But this is what is going on. We're using an IP that's familiar so that it tries to draw people in because of familiarity. But this is all just, and again, just like the things like She-Hulk and things like of this ilk, like Blood Origin, Witcher, and all that. This is the writer writing for the writer and the people in the writing room. This is not the way people speak. This is not representative of anybody out in the real world. This is these Hollywood morons who are so out of touch with reality that they just make jokes and write for themselves. And then when real people actually see it and tell them how bad it sucks, they have no understanding of that, and they just say, well, again, you're a misogynist, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, homophobe, whatever it might be, because you don't get it. It's like, no, you don't get that's not real.
What's crazy about Velma is she makes this quip, right, about how finally there's the same fucking thing. Finally there's a strong female protagonist that isn't, you know, about to lose their kids and addicted to alcohol or anything. And it's just like, what the fuck are you talking? So to segue, also on HBO Max, I watched a film.
Okay.
Called The Menu.
Oh, okay. I've heard of this. I have not seen it as of yet.
It's getting rave reviews.
Excellent.
And it's phenomenal.
Is it? Okay.
So it's so interesting because it's clear satire.
Okay.
Right? But it's also kind of a horror movie. So if you said to me like, oh yeah, it's a horror movie, but there's also satire, I'd be like, get the fuck out. Like, all right, so it's camp. But it's not camp because I had the same feelings of dread that I had with The Witch.
Oh,
and you know,
okay.
I hold that movie in high regard.
Same girl.
Yes. So she's one of my, you know, if she's in something, generally it's been good.
She's one of those actresses that has been
she's
in a lot of good movies lately.
She surrounds herself with a good team as well. So it's like generally you see that. So I'm not going to go too deep into it. I would recommend you watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to.
So she's phenomenal in it.
Yeah.
And she's pretty much our protagonist, right?
Okay.
And you root for her.
Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah.
Fucking what a delight.
Oh. In most things. In most things.
And what's that guy's name? Nicholas Hult.
Yep.
So his acting is great.
Yeah. He's good. He's a good actor.
John Leguizamo was in it too.
Okay.
And he was fine.
Yeah, he's all right.
So basically, just to kind of get, you know, talking about deeper meanings in movies and some depth, on the surface, right, you would say, oh, this movie is kind of just taking a jab at, like, foodies.
All right.
You know? Because basically the gist of it is you have this, you know, this master chef, right? And he's just lost all the passion. That's kind of what sets off the events.
Okay.
And you kind of meet the people that he's feeding.
Yeah.
And it's like you've got a kind of an older actor that's on the tail end of his career that's trying to stay relevant, you know, billionaire, finance bros. And then Nicholas Hult's character, who is obsessed. He's a fanatic.
Okay.
Right? But I don't know if he just is in love with the idea. Like, he's not trying to cook. He's just a fanatic about it, right? So, like, he can spit all the intellectual side of it.
Sure.
So, basically, you know, the movie just kind of goes into how people like that, if you take food out of the equation and say art because
Yeah.
he's a chef, right? His food
right.
is his art. When you have when we do this as a society, right, and we take art and we put it on this pedestal where it's unavailable to the populace in a lot of times,
Yeah.
something is lost there
Sure.
for both the consumer and the creator, right?
Right.
So the whole message is basically, if you follow that path, right, where it's just like, okay, I have to keep giving and keep giving, you lose the soul. This is what happened. And so I'm watching this, right, and all of the shit that we talk about, I'm like, holy fuck. Because this is what happened with Disney, is you keep feeding the beast, so to speak. You have to get the content out. And I'm guilty of it too. I was doing 5 a day.
Sure.
When you do it as an obsession, it loses emotion. It loses humanity.
Right.
And it becomes cold.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes cold. It becomes soulless. It becomes heartless. It becomes the Disney. Most of the Disney movies, especially the live action movies that they're putting out, though, that's exactly what those movies are.
Right. I've talked to Partially Proficient a bit about, and I know you have a strong opinion on this, AI art. And even if it gets as good or better than artists, it is soulless.
Oh, totally soulless.
It is absolutely soulless. So when I see that shit, because, we're on TikTok and everything, when I just scroll, because it's like there's no work that goes into that.
Right. And what troubles me about it the most is you're not an artist. You're a button pusher.
Right. You
don't
know how
call
to
yourself
Google.
an artist.
Right. Your search engine skills are good.
Yeah. Like, you created nothing.
Right. But the thing of it is, and what was so poignant to me is that I consider myself a creator.
Right. Absolutely.
That's debatable.
No,
but I put stuff out anyway. And I'm watching this and I'm just like, oh shit, let's take a breath a little bit, because I was so laser focused in on putting out content that you do lose. It becomes this sort of, well, I know this will work because, from a corporate commercial kind of scale, right? Like, they like this, they like that. And that's soulless.
Right. Well, I mean, again, we've talked about this in the past already, but like, Marvel Phase 4, you had almost as many pieces of content put out in Phase 4 alone than you did in the first 3 phases combined.
Yeah.
And most of it was content that was just put out with very little soul, very little heart. Just and the reason why people didn't care for these things is because it was clear that you didn't put your best effort into it. You cared more about content than the quality, and it showed.
Now, you can argue that, Ralph Fiennes' character, the chef, we'll call him, is just as guilty as anyone else. Because he's, a part of this system, right? But my argument is, maybe he didn't choose it, right? Like, people are just like, oh, that's the vocation you chose, you just have to deal with it. Maybe he had to make food. Where it was an obsession, And if that's the case, he's part of the system, but there is that sort of weird offshoot.
Yeah.
But just, and again, there was so much humor. It was such a black comedy almost. And I'm sitting there going like, I was exhausted after it was over because I was like very tense, and then there'd be like moments of brevity, right? And ultimately the conclusion, and I was just kind of shocked through the whole thing. And then I started to digest it and kind of pick it apart.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, it tied into, the craft, obviously, from more than just the movie or foodie's experience, but, as an artist, it tied into what Disney and these big corpos are doing, and it's just like, I don't ever want my art to be, Disney
Right.
You know, because it's soulless now.
It is.
There was something there for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the go-to family entertainment. And for how many years, like Pixar, did they put out these movies that just, and again, I don't even care about money. How much joy those movies brought to families.
They were artistic.
Right.
Like
and
Up will get you in the heartstrings.
Right. And the movies were, again, they were certainly designed more towards children, but adults could take as much from them as well and have the same level of enjoyment.
They were accurate modern day fairy tales.
Right.
Because there was, a bit of trauma.
Yeah.
But again, where Pinocchio, I think, shines, where Disney kind of faltered, is they always pulled shy. They wanted to give the happy ending, and it's like, well...
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to see something that was closer to the actual books.
Yeah.
But, the thing is, to your point, Disney was making sure that they had quality and the things that they were putting out were loved. Yeah, there was an absolute passion, and now they've bent the knee to the mob.
It's not even just bending the knee to the mob. I think a lot of it is the people running the show now don't have a creative bone in their body.
Oh no, they don't. They don't.
And because of that, you own all the IPs, so we can't make anything. Like I can't make anything that's copyrighted or trademarked, even though I'm impassioned and I love this stuff and I consider myself a creator. I'm not allowed to, take my art and take these characters at all, because then they're going to shut me down.
Right.
And it's like, okay, cool, you're great at business, but you're bankrupt in the creative department, and it shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does show. And this again goes to my earlier point that Avatar, even though the story is basic, is a story that families can get behind, and that's why they are getting behind
Avatar is... When did the first one come out?
13 years ago.
Okay, so he's not churning content out, though.
No. Oh, hell no.
So that's the thing, is that YouTube and Netflix, YouTube is a phenomenal resource, and Netflix in its heyday was great.
Right.
But what's happening is, now that everyone is bought into it, the beast that craves content will never be satiated.
No.
And you can never rise to meet the demand.
No.
And if you try, in an ever-increasing, the demand just increases. And what you're left with is where we are right now.
Right.
Is that there is just so much garbage.
Right.
And even franchises that are beloved.
Right, but that's the problem. It's... And this goes to the bigger issue of I want more, then they have to churn out more and more, but then it's like, well, I don't want that. And it's like, well, we can't have it every way.
Listen, not for nothing, making shit is hard.
Oh, definitely.
It is. Like, and I'm not good, but even my mediocre shit, my products are solid, but I'm just saying, I always look at my art critically.
Yeah, no, it is.
But
it's a task. It's a
hard.
chore. It's hard. Right.
It's not easy to do quality work.
No, and this goes to my point of why I despise AI art and the people that call themselves artists, is because, look, I may not be the greatest artist in the world, but it's hard. There's a lot that goes into creating art.
Right.
And I'll be damned if I'm going to have somebody that pushed a button tell me that they're on the same caliber as what I've done from a creative standpoint or an artistic standpoint.
Yeah, but what it ends up being, though, is like, the shit that we have now. Like, you can make it look the same.
Sure.
But it doesn't, like, nobody likes Willow.
Nobody.
Right. But it looks great.
Sure. None of the things that have come out that have flopped miserably have looked bad.
No.
None of it.
So that's what I'm saying is, like, all of these artists are, like, in an uproar, and it's like, initially it may be a little bumpy. But much like 2022, movies are art.
Right.
Right? And when you start churning out cookie cutter shit, you lose creativity, or people that aren't creative and are not exercising that part of their brain, right? Maybe you can make your drawing look like mine, right?
Right.
But at its core, it's hollow.
Yes.
And where I can pivot because I exercise that creativity, you can't. And you have to be a slave to the technology.
Right. And here's the thing, right? So,
and I'm digital. Like, I draw on the tablet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying technology evil.
No. But here's let me give you an example, right? Let's say comic books, right?
Yeah.
Comic books, a lot of them are purchased based upon the artist. If you take away the artist and say that it's going to be AI, well, you're going to lose the people. They're not going to buy it because they want to buy art from the specific artists that they know, that they love, that they appreciate. And if you just find a computer to make books, people are going to say, yeah, I don't want that.
What will happen is, it's just going to happen in every medium, is that everything is going to become so overly saturated, right? That you're going to just have to pick out, like again, for me, I basically have turned off, like, if Disney puts something out, I'm really not interested at this point.
No.
There's been too much. And I'm not into hate watching. I'll be true. I watched Velma because I wanted to give it a fair shake.
Sure.
But I'm not going to keep watching it. Like, I'm not into hate watching. No. I stopped watching Willow. I was hate watching it, and then I was like, you know what? This is only helping their case. I'm not into it.
Yeah.
And it is much better to be, indifferent to it than, hate watching.
Yeah.
So, but the menu... right? I'm very into that.
Sure.
So it's like, again, there's just little blips.
Yeah.
Right? You'll get a blip here, a blip there.
Yeah. I mean, there is still movies that are being made.
Right. Like,
that
Pinocchio is using up-to-date technology.
Right. And they're going to bring people to the theaters. I mean, that obviously was a Netflix, but there are going to be movies that will bring people to the theaters.
Right, it's Avatar. Anything Cameron does is going to bring people.
It's not COVID.
No.
It's not the recession. It's the quality of product, and that is going to be the difference maker, because I guarantee you in 2023 with the slate of movies that are coming out, you're going to get some billion-dollar movies. There will be movies that people will go see.
But
but they're going to be few and far between. But you are going to have some, because there are movies that are coming out that people want to watch. And then there are going to be a ton of flops that people don't want to watch, because those are not the movies that you made to be entertaining for families, for adults, for whomever, that people are going to reject. And you're going to have the same result in 2023 that you did in 2022. It's almost guaranteed.
Yeah, but like, did you see the screenshots of like MODOK?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, it looks terrible.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is, like, it's just that,
Yeah.
Like, you can get away with it for a while, and again, it's such a big ship, right? That it's never going to stop on a dime.
No.
Right? So even though, phase 3 was kind of the end, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's still pushing forward, because even if everyone hasn't caught up with it yet, look at Disney's stock. It's in the toilet.
Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. Netflix is in the toilet. They're all, all of these companies.
But you have the money to buy the rights to these incredible, franchises that have great, deep characters, great life lessons. Because again, everything we've learned is through story, right? Right. Even if you want to go the religious route, that's still you going to a place and listening to someone tell you a story.
Yeah.
So our whole society is built on stories.
Right.
So to me, Indiana Jones and all those guys, my heroes, right? That's how I'm learning right from wrong and everything.
Sure. Absolutely.
But when our protagonists are just coming out and being mean because they don't like the status quo or they don't like, whatever they don't like, I'm thinking to myself, like, the generation that's coming up, it's good to critically think and challenge. But don't be a fucking asshole. Like, we're all just trying to get along.
Right. But here's in Hollywood, the biggest problem with them is they are, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, are so out of touch with reality.
Well, they live in a bubble.
So one of the guys from the Eternals, Nimjani, I think his name is, came out and said, because I guess he's in a new show, Chippendales, I think it was something like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, and I think he's playing a bad guy.
Well, he's
potentially
playing like the guy who started Chippendales.
Okay, so kind of a jerk, I think, character.
Yeah, I don't think the dude that started the male strip club is a great human being.
But his comment was Hollywood is not allowing, although it's kind of odd, him being in Marvel and Kang being the new big bad of Marvel for the next phase, but are not allowing people of color to be the bad guy. Now,
well, at least Kang, I guess, is a indirect conflict of that.
And his point is, but
Killmonger.
But I'm talking about going forward. Like this is now,
part of the agenda.
Right? And it's like, and his point is, but we want to play those characters. They're fun characters. They're enjoyable characters.
Is that when you start doing this sort of shit, right? You're pointing when you do the woke agenda shit and all that. You're pointing out what makes us different,
right?
Instead of just being like, "Yo, you want to be the villain? Like, I think you would nail this role. Personality and acting style. You're the guy."
Yeah.
No, it's like no.
But again, you're saying white people are bad and people of color deserve to beat the bad white guy, and your audience.
It's not as like. I don't think they're coming out and saying white people are bad.
No, but if only white people can be the bad guy,
right,
then you're giving a message.
I think I struggle with that because I think it's just more that they're, pushing this woke shit, and when it comes up, they're like, well, we can't have them be bad.
Right, but the problem is if every movie the bad guy is white.
Well, right, you're culturally starting to change the perception,
and what you're going to do is you're going to alienate the audience, and people are going to not go see your movies because they don't want to see that.
See, but here's the thing:
movie,
I don't care if the bad guy is white in every film, if it's the right person for the role.
I do, because I think that you're limiting. I think you're limiting that way.
But that's what I'm saying to you is that if you screen tested everybody and it's always a white guy because that's how it shook out, fine.
Yeah, but if they were the best person for the job, sure.
Right, but if you're saying that you're not even screen testing someone who's Pakistani like he is, or Indian or black or Asian. What the fuck are you doing?
Right, and that's what his point was. That
right,
he's being told from Hollywood, oh, no, we are not casting any people of color for villain roles.
Right. It's the same thing, like, if you watch shit, right? Like, some of the podcasts and stuff, like Bobby Lee. You know who Bobby Lee is?
You've mentioned him
he's an
to
Asian
me,
comedian. He's a goofy guy. He said he did a call, a casting call for one of the movies or whatever.
Oh, wait a minute. Is he the guy from Mad TV?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I know exactly.
He went out for, I forget what it was. It was a huge movie, though.
Yeah.
And after he did his bit, right? Oh, it was King Kong.
Oh, okay.
So he went out, he did his audition, like just to be, a bit player in it or whatever. And they said to him, this is out of his mouth, so I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't, can you do it Asian? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're looking for that this was back in the day.
Sure.
They're looking for that stereotype. And it's the same shit. It's the same tiger, different stripes. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's like fucking stupid.
Right. You know, and the thing is, the problem is that what you're doing essentially is telling people of color, like the younger generation, you may miss your opportunity to make it big because the role that might have launched you, you're no longer even getting the opportunity to play.
Right.
And that's ridiculous.
But the thing of it is like, and I think him coming out and saying that is brave and, you know, honest, is that you're just cutting this pool down to such a small group, and
right.
it's the same thing that you were doing in the 80s, just reversed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, all right, well, they're all, you know, any diversity hires are going to be heroes. That's it. And it's like, what? But you used to do the opposite of that in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're just doing the same shit.
Right.
Why don't you just fucking screen test people?
Right.
And whoever's the best gets the fucking job.
But this is my point with Hollywood. Why do you need to do that? Why do you need to gatekeep? Why do you need your woke agenda that doesn't work? Just whoever wants to apply for that role, you pick the best person. Who cares if a white guy on film kills a black guy? It's a movie. It's not real life. It's not representative unless you're telling, you know, a true to life story, which then it was representative. That happened.
But if they're acting, it is what it is,
right.
man. And here's the thing, is that I think the Hollywood model is just a dying animal, honestly, because as technology gets better, smaller studios are going to be able to produce, you know, quality content.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you know,
yeah, I mean, look, if in the next movie the you know, John Wick kills a black guy who's
John Wick's always fought whoever, though.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying if the bad guy, the villain was a black man and a white man killed him, when the movie ends, there is not going to be race wars out in the streets.
But here's the thing: is that John Wick is going up against the council, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's led by someone from the Middle East.
Right.
Nobody is screaming, oh, well, you know, John Wick is a racist.
Yeah. And I mean, again, in the first, what was in the
second movie,
right? The other assassin.
Halle Berry was.
Well, no, he had the other assassin, right? That he fought.
Oh, that
was
the
a friend of
one?
his. Was it the first one or the second one?
Common, right? Played by Common? Yeah.
No one said a word about that?
Oh, he's killing a black
right,
man.
because
no.
It doesn't matter. It's a movie.
Right.
It was acted well, and people. It was entertaining.
It's a farcical movie, right? Because it's kind of satire in its own way, just with the insane violence and everything. But it's so much more true to life in the fact that nobody's sitting there going like, I love you for who you are. It's like, no, if we're enemies, we're enemies. Like,
right.
You know, my color, my sex, my religion has nothing to do.
Right. None of that matters.
I'm pointing a gun at you.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to kill you. You want to kill me.
Right.
Which one of us is going to survive?
And that's why John Wick works so well.
Right.
Because you don't have it doesn't have to be this exhausting fucking you know, morality check.
Right, and that's the thing. And that's why a movie like Maverick did so well, because it wasn't telling you a message other than what the message was intended to be. Hey, this is a guy's kid. I'm going to look out for him, teach him, you know,
but here's the
flying planes. Simple message.
Easy. It's a popcorn flick.
Right, exactly.
But here's the thing is that, you know, I just talked about the menu, right?
Mm-hmm.
The protagonist is a female.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for her.
Right.
And she's a strong woman.
Right. And no one has a problem with that. You don't have to tell us. You don't have to beat us over the head with it. Put the movie on. If it's good, great. We'll enjoy it. If it sucks, we won't enjoy it. But you don't have to give us a moral lesson, and you don't have to browbeat us before the movie comes out.
So what this is my kind of viewpoint on it now, like having just watched the menu or whatever. Your villain was a white man, basically,
sure,
right? And you know, your hero was basically a white woman,
yep,
right? Which is fine, whatever.
Sure.
But at no point, right, is anybody going like, oh, you guys just don't like this because like people love that movie.
Yeah.
It's getting high reviews.
Yeah.
It seems to be the people that are so loud about this sort of shit are the ones that are putting out shitty stuff.
Right. That's again a point we've made numerous times. It's not the color of the skin or the sex. It's your movies suck.
Right. It's
they
your
suck.
storytelling ability.
Right.
Because when it all boils down, it's all based on the story.
Exactly. If
All right. Let's put this one to bed.
Yeah. That's fine.
So, what's going on?
Just working on art, trying to build up.
Don't get too obsessive, right?
Yeah, no, just trying to do what we can here in the new year to get out as much as we can without making it soulless or heartless.
Yeah, that's the core tenet of the menu.
Exactly.
I would say. All right, guys. So that's episode 36. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. I'm filling orders, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good. Thank you guys for coming out and supporting us on that, But let me know what you guys think. Have you seen Pinocchio? Is it deep? Did it speak to you? Are you a fan of Velma? Have you watched the menu? Because if you haven't, you got to get on that. And, how do you feel about art and the craft of making art? All right, guys. Catch you on the next one.